The Indiana Fever, no Caitlin Clark today. They set her out with a leg injury. A lot of people not happy about that.
Sophie Cunningham just got body slammed, and the entire WNBA felt the aftershock. With Caitlin Clark out, the Indiana Fever faced brutal fouls, cheap shots, and one of the dirtiest games we've seen this season.
The Indiana Fever just played their first preseason game without Caitlin Clark, and I have to say, I was thoroughly impressed with this new look Fever team. They didn't have their point guard and best player in this game, so these players had to come together and spontaneously on the spot figure out a way to win this game, and they did it. And the fact that they were able to do that tells me a whole lot about this team.
But here's what no one expected. They didn't collapse. They fought back, and they won. The Fever didn't just survive without Caitlin Clark, they thrived. Cunningham dropped 21 points after getting slammed to the floor.
And man, what about Sophie Cunningham? I mean, she was getting to the free throw line, she was hitting timely shots, she was getting rebounds, she was playing defense, getting on the ground, she was playing with effort and energy, getting into the other team's face. I mean, she was doing a whole lot, and she is the biggest reason why the Indiana Fever won this game. She was easily the best player on the court.
Lexie Hull turned into a defensive machine.
I was also really impressed with Lexie Hull. She had 4 steals in this game. She had 5 rebounds, 4 assists. She had 13 points. Look, if you're going to have Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham as the enforcer type energizing players, the Indiana Fever are about to be unstoppable.
And the whole team sent a message loud and clear. This is not the same soft Fever squad from last year. But here's the twist. Did this dominant performance without Clark actually prove she's replaceable? Or is it just the fire she sparked that's changing everything?
But look, we could talk about the game all day and all night, but what's even better is if we break down some film so you guys can see exactly what I'm referring to. I think this game, even though it was a preseason game, you didn't get to see Caitlin Clark play, it said a whole lot about this Indiana Fever team, man. They are going to be scary, and the clips are going to...
What happened next flipped the WNBA narrative on its head. Let's set the stage.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Clark, guard for the Indiana Fever.
Gets bumped, will take, and hit from 3.
Caitlin Clark, the most hyped rookie in WNBA history, was ruled out moments before tip-off. A tight left leg, nothing serious, but serious enough to sideline the biggest name in women's basketball.
And I was like, what in the world? Caitlin Clark, questionable for tomorrow with the left leg injury. Now, if anything, man, I would say don't panic. Everything is okay. It is questionable, right? It's questionable. Questionable means, you know, it could be something, probably not, but we'll see, right? It's not a definite she's out, all right? So nothing to panic about, but it did catch my eye. I was like, what in the world? I thought it was a prank.
Without Clark, many assumed the Fever were doomed. After all, this team won just 13 games last year. Clark was supposed to be their savior. So when the news broke that she wouldn't be suiting up, fans groaned, critics smiled, and the Washington Mystics saw an opening. And they didn't wait long to take advantage. From the very first play, the Mystics went full throttle. Hard fouls, trash talk, cheap shots. It was clear they thought the Fever would fold, especially without their star. And for a while, it looked like they were right. Indiana stumbled out of the gate, scoring just 13 points in the first quarter. They trailed by 15.
The team came out very slow, very lethargic, very stuck in the mud, very dragging ass, didn't have energy to them, didn't have flow to them.
Their offense was broken. Their defense was scattered. The arena was silent. All 12,000 fans stunned, watching a team with no rhythm, no energy, no Clark.
Stephanie White seemed frustrated. We were down 15. Stephanie White called the timeout, and she must have stuck her foot up her team's ass and said, you see this arena? You see all these fans that came to watch you guys? 12,461 people. They didn't come to watch you guys bullshit. They didn't come to watch you guys drag ass. Let's play some defense and let's get it together offensively.
But what came next flipped the game, and maybe the entire season, upside down. Because when Mystics rookie Kiki Iriafen tried to bully Sophie Cunningham with a full-body slam, she didn't break her. She woke her up.
Hunter hits the floor, no whistle. Shot too strong there from Olsen. Cunningham pulled it down. Here's that feistiness. Debbie, this is a preseason game, and I know it wasn't announced that Caitlin Clark wouldn't play until right before. This is a preseason game where Clark is not available, and yet you probably have 10,000 people here and a real home court advantage.
Sophie hit the ground hard, but got up even harder. She didn't just shrug it off, she clapped back.
But no doubt about it, the Indiana Fever have another star. All right? Just this quick, Sophie Cunningham, and I told you guys I had a feeling that she was going to really make her presence known.
On the court and on the scoreboard, that flagrant foul flipped a switch. Suddenly, Sophie went from quiet contributor to full-blown enforcer. She started torching the Mystics from every angle, jumpers, drives, threes, and she wasn't alone. Lexie Hull turned into a defensive nightmare, racking up 4 steals and locking down Washington's backcourt.
Lexie Hull looked the most confident I've ever seen Lexie Hull look. Lexie Hull looked the most confident I have ever seen Lexie Hull look, putting the ball on the ground, taking it to the rack, shooting threes, middies, turnaround fades. Whether they went in or not, we can get into that another day once the season starts. But the fact that she's confident enough in her game to where she's at least willing to try to do something to make the offense happen, to create points, to create confusion among the defense.
Aaliyah Boston got physical in the paint. Kelsey Mitchell found her groove. And the crowd, they came alive. Not for Caitlin Clark this time, but for a team that refused to be bullied again. Because last year, this squad would have backed down. This year, they fought back. The Mystics didn't know what hit them. Their 15-point lead disappeared before halftime. Their game plan, intimidate, dominate, and walk out with an easy preseason win, exploded in their faces. But the dirty play didn't stop. Later, Brittany Sykes shoved Cunningham to the floor again. And this time, it wasn't just Sophie standing up, it was the whole Fever bench.
It's not that, it's that.
You see Sophie Cunningham kind of hold the Sykes' arm, but Sykes is going to claim she was holding me.
I would say
we're going to learn that Sophie isn't always innocent, but...
Teammates swarmed in. Veteran forward DeWanna Bonner got in Sykes' face. The Fever had drawn a line. You hit one of us, you hit all of us.
She completely threw Sophie Cunningham. Sophie Cunningham is taking a beating this game. Gosh, this is going to make big time news because now this proves there is an agenda against the Indiana Fever. There is an attack agenda against the white women on the Indiana Fever basketball team. I'm calling it right now.
Therefore, what started as a preseason scrimmage quickly turned into a full-blown statement. And here's where it gets wild. Without Caitlin Clark, Indiana didn't just hold their own. They played better. They shot 96% from the free throw line. They clawed back from double digits. They forced overtime.
Sophie Cunningham and Lexie Hull, these two players. Sophie Cunningham gave us 21, Lexie Hull gave us 13. The Blonde Bombers is what they're calling them. We were down 15 in the first half. Why were we down 15? We cut it to within 3.
And in OT, Sophie Cunningham took over. She delivered the knockout blow, literally and figuratively.
Oh my God, Sophie's a dog. She just is, she's a competitor. She's versatile, so she allows us to do different things. Like, she plays with such a toughness. She's huge, and she's going to be for us all season long. But what she brings from an energy standpoint, she raises the level of play of everybody around her as soon as she steps foot on the floor. Hell, even on the sideline. I mean, her communication, everything. She's definitely an X factor.
Therefore, the question can't be ignored. Did the Fever just prove they're stronger without Caitlin Clark? Or are they only this tough because she's already changed the culture? When the final buzzer sounded, the Indiana Fever didn't just win. They sent a warning. They beat the Mystics in overtime without Caitlin Clark after getting physically attacked for 4 quarters straight. And the WNBA took notice. But let's not forget how we got here. Just last season, Indiana was the league's punching bag. Caitlin Clark's arrival didn't immediately fix that. If anything, it made things worse. Opposing players have gone after her game after game, targeting her with flagrant fouls, hard screens, and even off-the-ball body checks. At first, Clark took it all. She got up, she smiled, she didn't retaliate. But over time, something changed. The Fever started to rally around her. Bonner got vocal, Mitchell started chirping. And when Sophie Cunningham joined the squad in that off-season trade, it was game over for the soft label. Therefore, when Clark sat out against the Mystics, the team didn't panic. They knew exactly what to do, because Caitlyn's impact goes deeper than box scores and highlight reels. She's not just scoring 20 points a night, she's reshaping the identity of the franchise. When Kiki Iriafen body-slammed Sophie Cunningham, that wasn't just a foul, it was a challenge. And the Fever answered, not with tears or complaints, but with defense, free throws, and fire. Sophie Cunningham dropped 21 points.
And I don't know if they're going to end up winning or not, but Sophie Cunningham has been an absolute beast in this game. 34 minutes, 6 of 11 from the field, 54%, 21 points. And she has thrown in, let me just see here, it looks like 8 rebounds. And how many assists does she have? She's got 2 assists. She's been an absolute beast in this game. No doubt about it.
She grabbed 8 rebounds. Lexie Hull chipped in 13 and 4 steals. The Fever hit 27 of 28 free throws. That's 96%. You can't fake that. You can't luck into that. That's culture. That's belief. That's Caitlin Clark's influence, even from the sidelines. But here's the twist. After the game, the Mystics refused to shake hands. They stormed off the court, humiliated, not just because they lost, but because they lost to the very player they tried to break.
So this is what ended up happening right here. So let's take a look. So you can see Sonia Citron, like Jade Melbourne's not looking to shake hands because people are like, oh, it was all the rookies. So it wasn't just rookies not knowing what they were doing. So a lot of people were saying that it was just, you know, rookies not knowing. That's not how they do in the WNBA. Because the first person is looking to shake hands is Shug Sutton. And immediately the vets are telling the, so obviously Dolson's there waving at the Fever.
This wasn't just about Cunningham. It wasn't just about Clark. It was about the new Indiana Fever, a team that has officially stopped asking for respect and started taking it. So what happens now? Clark's return is looming. She's expected to rejoin the lineup soon, refreshed, healthy, and ready. But the dynamics have changed. She's no longer the only one fighting. She's surrounded by warriors, by teammates who will stand up for her and for each other. That's dangerous, that's scary, that's the blueprint for a contender. And here's what no one's saying out loud. The WNBA has a real problem now. Because if the Indiana Fever are this good without Caitlin Clark, what happens when she's back at full strength? What happens when the face of the league finally has a team that can fight just as hard as she can? That's the part nobody's ready for. And maybe that's exactly what they're afraid of.
Why hasn't Middle America given Paige Beckers the Caitlin Clark treatment?
Paige Beckers is woke as hell. She's going to come into the league and join the WNBA activism. She's probably not going to be embraced over that because we are sick of it.
Luka Doncic didn't hesitate. When asked to name his favorite women's basketball player, he could have said anyone. Paige Beckers, Aja Wilson, Sabrina Ionescu. But instead, Luka looked dead serious and said just 2 words, Caitlin Clark.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player?
Caitlin Clark.
Really?
Yeah.
No sugarcoating, no media spin, just raw honesty from one of the biggest names in the NBA. And when the reporter pushed back, trying to slip Paige Beckers into the conversation, Luka shrugged her off like she didn't even matter.
You know, like Paige Beckers?
She was okay. I didn't see her playing in the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
Number 1.
Dallas.
She's okay, he said. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA. That moment shook the basketball world because in just 5 seconds, Luka Doncic crushed the fake narrative the media's been trying to sell that Paige is somehow on Caitlin's level. She's not. And if you're still wondering who's really moving the needle in women's sports, Luka just gave you the answer the whole league is too afraid to say out loud. When Luka Doncic was asked a simple question, who's your favorite women's basketball player? He could have played it safe. He could have dropped a politically correct answer, thrown out multiple names, or praised Paige Beckers the way the media has been desperately trying to get fans to do. Instead, he said what most real hoopers already know. Caitlin Clark. No hesitation, no overthinking, just facts.
He was asked about his favorite women's basketball player. Listen to this.
Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark? Really?
And when the reporter followed up by asking about Paige Beckers, Luka didn't flinch. He shrugged. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA. That's it. That one moment exposed everything.
You don't like Paige Buchers?
No, she's okay. I didn't see her playing the women's NBA, so.
She just got drafted.
Number 1.
Dallas.
He used to play in Dallas, which is where Paige Beckers plays.
Luka, one of the most respected basketball minds in the NBA, couldn't even pretend Paige was in the same conversation as Caitlin Clark, and he didn't need stats or long-winded takes. His body language said it all. Caitlin Clark has arrived, Paige Beckers hasn't even started, so why is the media still trying to force this rivalry? Let's be clear, Caitlin Clark isn't just good, she's a phenomenon. She led the NCAA in assists twice. She holds the all-time NCAA scoring record. She sold out arenas on the road, everywhere she played. She led the league in WNBA assists as a rookie. She has the highest selling trading card in women's basketball history.
There's another trading card that sold for an absurd amount of money. You'd have to pay $244,000 to have gotten that card.
She brought more national attention to women's hoops than any player, male or female, in decades. And that's just in the last 2 years. Meanwhile, the media wants us to believe Paige Beckers led the nation in assists. But the receipts tell a different story. She wasn't even top 10. In fact, in her most recent full season, she ranked 63rd. That's not elite. That's not even close.
A reputable basketball publication, Bleacher Report, stating that Paige Beckers led the nation in assists twice in her college career. She has been top 15 once. She was 63rd last year when she led the nation assists. Georgia Amor, who had more assists than Paige, did not lead the nation assists as well. It is literally the media just lying. They are literally just lying.
Even Georgia Amor, who had more assists, was never credited as leading the nation. Why? Because the media needs Paige to be Caitlin's equal, but the numbers don't support that. The narratives are being manufactured, the rivalry is being forced, and Luka Doncic just blew it all up with one shrug.
Let's get to Luka Doncic, who of course plays for the Lakers now after having been traded. Who's your favorite women's basketball player? Caitlin Clark. You don't like Paige Beckers? Quote, shrugs. She's okay. Haven't seen her play in the WNBA, so, and when he sees her play in the WNBA, he won't be that impressed either.
Because Luka knows what real dominance looks like. He's played with legends. He's faced MVPs. And he's seen the difference between hype and impact. That's why he didn't even acknowledge Paige's hype. Because without WNBA minutes, there's nothing to evaluate. Therefore, Luka's response wasn't petty. It was professional. It was truth. And it forced fans to ask the question the media keeps avoiding. Why are we still pretending Paige Beckers is on Caitlin Clark's level?
I thought Paige Buchers was a star. I thought Paige Buchers was the secondary great white hope. It didn't matter who Caitlin Clark was playing, and the game would be headline news. That is what's missing in women's college basketball this season.
Luka Doncic's shrug didn't just reveal the gap between Caitlin and Paige. It exposed something deeper, a system desperately clinging to control.
Basically, Wings GM conveys key difference in Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark's rookie season. He said the one thing when you talk about last season is that Paige won't have the benefit that Caitlin did. And this is nothing against Caitlin, but we had an Olympic break last year. So you got to see some players take a month-long break, essentially. And those rookies were coming off a grueling season in the collegiate game. They got a break and got to reset and finish strong. This draft class, which includes Paige, is not going to have that luxury. We don't have a big break where they can almost catch a second win and then push to the finish line in the second half of the season, he continued. So we have to watch this rookie class around the league about load management. It's not just our rookies. We're all going to be tuned in to load management, especially these rookies that played long into their collegiate season. I didn't really see any of the benefit that Caitlin Clark got coming into the season.
Because the truth is, Caitlin Clark's rise has broken the old rules. Before Caitlin, the WNBA was a tight-knit circle, small audiences, predictable coverage, media gatekeepers who decided who got the spotlight and who didn't. Players had to say the right things. Fans had to accept what they were told. Then Caitlin Clark came along, And none of that mattered anymore. She broke viewership records. She sold out arenas in cities she didn't even live in. She moved more merchandise than entire franchises. And most importantly, she did it without asking for permission. That's where the panic started. The old guard, including some loud voices in WNBA media, didn't know how to handle her. So instead of embracing the growth, they tried to discredit it. First, they said she was overhyped. Then they said she wasn't ready for the WNBA. Then they said she only got attention because she's white. And when none of that worked, they started creating fake rivals to balance the narrative.
We want to see Caitlin Clark and we want to see Paige Beckers.
Caitlin scored more points per game, but Paige was more efficient.
Paige Bueckers has had one of the best careers in the history of women's college basketball. On paper, you could make the case that Paige Bueckers has better college career than Caitlin Clark. But this is the world of television, where you're not judged based on your accomplishments, you're not judged based on your stats, you're judged based on your drawing power. And looking at these ratings for the women's tournament, it is abundantly clear Paige Bueckers might be a star, but she's not a draw.
These two were the topic of conversation. Who's the better player?
She's not nearly the player that Caitlin Clark is.
You know, she's been really disappointing this whole tournament.
We're not creating this rivalry. We're not saying they hate each other, but they are two of the best in the game right now.
Reese. Enter Paige Beckers. Suddenly headlines everywhere. Is Paige better than Caitlin? Can Paige become the next WNBA star? Are we overlooking Paige's greatness? But here's the problem. Paige hasn't played a single WNBA minute. She's not a rookie. She's a prospect, a name, a brand. And the media is banking on her because they're terrified that the WNBA's identity is changing without their control. Even respected insiders like Kurt Miller started throwing out strange excuses, saying Paige wouldn't get the same break Caitlin did during her rookie year. They blamed Olympic scheduling, load management, media pressure, anything to soften expectations before Paige even suits up. But Caitlin didn't get a break. She finished the most watched college game in history, then flew straight to the WNBA draft. She had no rest, no soft landing. She was thrown into the fire and still led the league in assists. Paige is entering a league that Caitlin rebuilt, and somehow the media is already making excuses. It doesn't stop there. Some outlets even tried to frame Caitlin's fan base as toxic and problematic, claiming only one group is responsible for hate and harassment.
We know Natalie Esquire, a serial hater when it comes to the Caitlin Clark fan base. She's pretty much a driving force behind a lot of the drama that take place in the media.
You have other people like Sabria Whitaker. You have so many people out there, and people like this, the committee, which is, a group of really, really strong women's basketball fans on Twitter, they have influence. Dawn Staley flew 2 members of the committee to South Carolina's opening game in Paris, okay?
So they're calling old guard WNBA fans the committee. These are the same people that is pushing race narratives. These are the same people that is bashing Caitlin Clark. These are the people she's talking about.
But the truth is obvious. The media is scared because Caitlin Clark didn't come through the system. She didn't wait for permission. She became the biggest star in women's basketball on her terms. And Luka Doncic's answer wasn't just a shout-out, it was a signal to the world. Real hoopers know who's really changing the game. Therefore, every time the media tries to create another fake headline, they're only proving what Luka already told us.
In Natalie Esquire heart is so strong, LOL. She said this in 4 different ways for absolutely no reason. NBC at Indiana Fever. We don't want her covering America's team. Natalie Esquire said only one is super problematic, emo in my experience, and based on listening to what has been said and reported on all year, it's a common theme. I only get harassed to endure racism, receive threatening emails, DMs from one fan base. So yes, it's one. It can apply in all of sports, but there is a notable difference in one fan base with respect to the W. This tweet said, no, it's one. It's not allegedly. This is my experience, and it only comes from a specific set of fans. So yes, for me, it's one fan base. You've already heard a player say in her career she's never experienced anything like this. Stop trying to violate our experience.
Paige isn't Caitlin's rival. She's Caitlin's shadow. When Luka Doncic casually said Caitlin Clark, the basketball world blinked. When he shrugged off Paige Beckers, it didn't feel mean. It felt inevitable. Because the truth is, Luka said what the stats, the fans, and the eyeballs have been screaming for months. Caitlin Clark didn't take anyone's spotlight. She built her own. She didn't wait for gatekeepers. She didn't ride legacy coverage. She earned every bit of attention by doing what no one else in women's basketball history has done. She moved the needle and shattered it.
Not only do I not think Paige is going to move the needle, I don't think she's going to flutter it. I don't think it's going to vibrate slightly.
You can't fake that. You can't Photoshop arenas filled with fans in other cities. You can't fabricate record-breaking trading card sales, primetime ratings, or MVP chants in visiting arenas. Caitlin Clark turned the WNBA into must-watch TV. She turned sports blogs into battlegrounds. She turned casual fans into loyal viewers. And she did it in less than a year.
A lot of Caitlin Clark fans, and so many of them are not white. It's just insulting to assume that that's the case to the people that aren't white, to the Black Americans that do love Caitlin Clark.
Eaton Thomas contrasts how white Americans view the two based on stark differences in speaking out against racial injustice. Quote, perhaps it's because, unlike Clark, Beckers has always been outspoken about issues off the court, Thomas wrote in a Guardian article. At the 2021 ESPYs, Beckers was named the College Athlete of the Year. She used her acceptance speech to celebrate and honor Black women in particular. In Beckers' famous ESPYs speech, she used her platform to recognize those who didn't get the same recognition as her, specifically highlighting Black women. While Black America cheered Beckers, it seemed like mainstream white America, a demographic once viewed her as, in her words, a media darling, weren't signaling out her praises. Is it a coincidence, or maybe because her injuries have made people forget her greatness as an athlete? But she's back from injury, and now why aren't people focused on Beckers as they were Clark last year when she was tearing up college basketball? Maybe if Beckers had delivered a more vanilla ESPY speech, things would be different. This is a completely embarrassing article. Caitlin Clark is a worldwide phenomenon whose playing style has drawn a level of hype that hasn't been seen in basketball in a decade.
Meanwhile, Paige Beckers, for all her skill, for all her potential, is still a question mark. Still a projection, still being shielded from fair comparisons by media spin and padded headlines. And Luka Doncic, without even trying, cut through all of that. He didn't need to tear Paige down. He just told the truth. I haven't seen her in the WNBA, which is the polite way of saying she hasn't done anything yet. But Caitlin has. And she's only getting started. That's why this matters. Because the moment Luka made his pick, he didn't just validate Clark's greatness. He exposed the fear behind the media's narrative. The fear that women's basketball is no longer something they can control. That the new face of the league isn't someone they anointed. That she doesn't fit neatly into their boxes. Activist or quiet, political or palatable, legacy or outsider. She's just Caitlin, and she wins. So when you see outlets scrambling to prop up Paige, when you hear excuses about Olympic breaks and rookie fatigue, when you hear the noise about problematic fan bases and undeserved hype, just remember, this is what disruption looks like.
Second chapter of the Caitlin Clark era in the WNBA will commence soon. Clark established herself as a superstar in her rookie season with the Indiana Fever and will now lead a championship hopeful team into year 2. However, before the season begins, Clark was involved in a major news headline that featured a 6-figure price tag. Clark's edition of the 2024 Piani Prism WNBA Throwback Signatures Golden Vinyl Card has been officially sold.
The WNBA is changing. The audience is growing. The metrics are real. The resistance is loud. But so is Caitlin's game. And if you think Luka Doncic is the only one watching, think again. Because the league, the fans, and the future already know who's leading the next chapter. It's not the player the media told you to love. It's the one who made you watch.